The ACC can stay intact, and the Big 12 can get Florida State and Clemson. Those two things are true with what we know now. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day, alongside Cameron Stewart of Locked On Baylor, the voice of the China Spring High School football team as well. If you hit subscribe, we keep our jobs. I transparently have neglected a pretty serious topic in college football here recently, one that I should be better researched on, more well-studied, and at least published shows about, and that's expansion and realignment. So we're going to tackle that today and give you all that we know. This tweet, Cam, comes from our good old friend MHVER3. And you're like, oh, that's the guy from Twitter that is faceless and nameless, but also says he's the Greg Swaim of Twitter. Less capital letters and exclamation points and a little bit more accurate information. Says that the Big 12, there's a price tag per his sources, that the Big 12 would give Florida State and Clemson $75 million per year based on TV money, college football playoff money, NCAA credits, private equity. The Big 12 can afford to give them a whole lot more money than everybody else to build the conference up. And that the ACC has been made aware what that price tag is. And not sure those guys are going to be able to match that on a year-to-year basis. So at this point, I mean, you lose those two schools, ACC can save some face because they're saying, oh, look how that deal is absurd. Nobody else in the ACC is going to get that kind of deal in the Big 12, even the SEC and the Big 10. So the ACC says, look, everybody else, you have to stay put. None of you are going to make $75 million. Florida State and Clemson can, and the Big 12 might actually be able to afford it.
Yeah, so that is the part I'm skeptical of, is that last part, is whether the Big 12, not that the Big 12 can't afford it, but whether they will afford it. And what I mean by that is the tweet from our pal there is saying that it's going to come at a great cost for the ACC to keep this alive. And there is a means to keep it alive. We have now been outlined with it, but that is going to take a big chunk out of everyone else's revenue split. There's no way it can be even. Yeah. And the Big 12 is still in the process of bringing everybody in to an even revenue split. And this is a conference that almost fell apart because the two big dogs did not want the even revenue split. They wanted to make more money. And so it would feel weird that just a few years after that, and that Texas and Oklahoma announced they're going to leave, the Big 12's on life support, then they find this stability, then they're going after some other big dogs, and then they say, well, hey, Texas and OU didn't deserve it, even though it would have made more sense for our conference. But we think Clemson and Florida State deserve it. I don't know how well that goes over with some of the other member institutions, even though I think we're both in agreement that adding Florida State and Clemson is a better move for the Big 12 than even staying where they're at right now, which I think is in a good place. So can they afford it? Sure. And obviously those schools will drive up revenue numbers and TV slot numbers, and they would restructure a deal in the very near future. But it would take a lot of gymnastics to make that still an even revenue split and keep those two schools happy playing in the Big 12.
For the ACC standpoint, not good. You
can take a big gamble here if you're the ACC and say, all right, go and find it. We don't think you're going to get a majority vote or whatever it needs to be from the Big 12 member schools, and then you'll come crawling back to us and we'll give you $65 million. That's a huge risk, but that's something that they might have to pull out at this point. I don't know.
Well, and that $65 million sounds absurd, but maybe this is an opportunity for the ACC to say, look, we can match it, which they won't. Let them walk. They're going to let these two schools walk at $75 million a year. That's more than anybody else is going to make. I mean, it's an absurd amount of money the Big 12 is going to give these two colleges to join this conference. Then from there, like you mentioned this, the rest of the ACC is going to deal with lower revenue numbers. When the ESPN deal is reworked and the college football playoff revenue distribution is reworked, the ACC is not going to be in a good spot. Makes me wonder, and this goes to another tweet that he follows it up with, will the Big 12 still be a prominent landing spot for ACC schools that want to get out? He says the Big 12 can pay with private equity. That's $75 million a year. And right now, the ACC doesn't have the TV profile enough to be in a great spot. And with a couple, he mentions a couple of the West Coast teams, a couple of ACC teams, the Big 12 could be a powerhouse.
Yeah, and that's where it's advantage Big 12 is that private equity, which we were all, including myself, very much questioning a month and a half ago. And now all of a sudden that could be a real player in terms of expanding this conference. And from the ACC standpoint, it feels like they're too late, because we have seen now a blueprint from the Big 12 in terms of how to keep your conference alive and how to thrive in said conference when your two big dogs leave. And I don't know if the ACC has a dance partner. I mean, they're already scraping the barrel, the bottom of it, with adding an SMU and even a Stanford, a school from the mighty Pac-12, but who couldn't care less about what's going on the sports fields. So I don't know that there are enough partners out there for the ACC to go and get and make it as stable and as thriving as the Big 12 is right now. I don't think that's there. So yeah, private equity maybe for the win here.
I do kind of like it. All State 12. All State 12. All State 12. Why not? Just do it. Who cares? Coming up, these Big 12 preseason rankings I have in my hands, crazy. On Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, part of Locked On Baylor, too. Your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. Oh, my. I have a white Nissan Maxima Arkansas plate sitting outside of my house right now, and one of the tires is messed up. One of the rims, is that what it is? The wheel. Passion, drive, and patience. eBay Motors has superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. So I go to them and I say, hey, look, dude, I need a new wheel thing, the shiny part. They have 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit every time with a money-back guarantee. Because eBay Motors, you're going to burn rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive. Go to ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Make your car the MVP. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. That is eBay Motors. That is Cameron Stewart of Locked On Baylor, and these preseason Big 12 rankings. I want to go through the bottom half of the top. Here, you're going to want to stay. You're going to want to stay around. You're going to want to stay around for number 4.
I will. Oh, okay.
And number 8. They're wild. There's some wild moves here. Brett Ciencia with Pick 6 previews. It's voted consistently the best magazine in college football. Even better sometimes, most of the time, than Phil Steele. Number 1 most accurate Power 5 preview since 2012. Every single year. That's good.
Can I ask what that's based on? Or I believe
no.
you. Well,
Stop.
Okay.
Don't even. Number 16 of the conference. I'm going to go through the first. I'm going to go up until 10 here and see if there's anything glaring stands out to you. 16, Houston. Yeah.
Sure.
15, BYU. First Jewish starting quarterback in BYU history is back, by the way. Keep that in your back pocket.
And Gary Bohannon is there. Baylor legend Gary Bohannon.
Gerald Bohannon is playing, the Earl Arkansas guy. Number 14, Arizona State. At this point, it's like, yeah, kind of flip a coin. Sure, whatever.
Sure. And a couple more coin flips, I'm sure, in the next few.
13, Cincinnati. Hey, yeah. I thought we'd see you down here. Sweet. Maybe a little higher than I expected.
Or is it UC?
Yeah, it's UC.
That's too bad. That was close.
The number 12 team in the conference, Baylor, coming off a 3-9 season. Again, all right. That most people have that as pretty much their bottom of the league. Nothing's glaring right now. 11, Colorado. 10, Texas Tech. Colorado was 4-8 last year.
Yeah,
Texas
I think
Tech was disappointing.
I think you're looking at especially those 11 through 14 being total coin flips too, in terms of
I would say
Colorado,
50.
Baylor,
BYU could be at the 13.
With BYU's got a tough schedule, and I don't think that helps them. But yeah, I mean, I could see 2 of those teams being bowl eligible and the rest not be, but I can't tell you what those 2 teams are. Tech at 10.
Also, Cincinnati's not very good.
Cincinnati's not very good. They lost.
They
to
could
Baylor
be at 16. I wouldn't be shocked at them at 16. Houston's defense is just god awful, terrible.
I kind of like Tech though. I
don't 10.
I don't want them. I don't expect them to win the conference. I guess I don't want them to win the conference either, but I don't expect them to win the conference. But 10 seems low for me.
Taj Brooks.
Although I like Taj Brooks a lot. They're saying Baron Morton is back to 100% or just about after that kind of weird missing out on the spring ball. and he's been inconsistent in his past, but I like the upside of Barron Morton. Love Taj Brooks. I just see them as one of those upper middle of the pack, upper middle class teams in the Big 12. I see them at like a 5th or a 6th rather than a 10. That just seems low. I think there are other teams that we're going to mention here in a minute that should be lower than them.
Maybe. And we can pick those out. The Colorado at 11. Yeah.
Yes.
Number one quarterback room in the conference. They have Deion Sanders, who might win the Heisman Trophy. Number 15 rated running back room in the conference. Number 3 rated wide receiver. The offense is going to be really good. Problem is defense. No goo. They like the D-line.
What did they say about the offensive line first?
The Colorado offensive line is 16th in the conference.
Yeah.
So that is transfers
last year.
Transfers taken into account. And in Brett Ciencia's all transfer team, they did get Tyler Johnson and Khalil Benson both on. So they've reloaded. The O-line's going to be better. There's not continuity, which there doesn't need to be. They were terrible. He still doesn't think they're going to be very good. Number 9 in the Big 12, West Virginia.
Almost 7.
I don't know. Garrett Green, good. Jaheim White and CJ Donaldson in the same backfield, good. Hudson Clement, he's back, good. Their O-line is pretty much all back.
I'll ask this about the skill position players.
Yeah.
Does it feel that much better than Tech?
Ooh. Yeah, CJ Donaldson and Jaheim White are both really good.
Okay.
Garrett Green.
I'm thinking it's better, but I just don't think it's that much better. And so I don't want Tech at 10. But if you're saying, hey, wherever Tech is, West Virginia's only 1 spot ahead of them, I'm like, oh, okay, that checks out. But 9 and 10, I will agree. It's not where I would have put them.
Notice
when I put 9 out on the table.
We haven't seen TCU yet. TCU hasn't come up.
Yes, I was thinking about that.
Number 8 team in the Big 12, the Kansas Jayhawks. I have Kansas in my top 3.
I think most people do.
And Brett Ciencia is a lot smarter than I am. He's got it at 8. Kansas at 8. Here's where we get real wild. Kansas has a new offensive coordinator, a really good defensive end coming in as well. I think he's got a red shirt, but could be the future. You're going to play Arrowhead. Awesome. Brett does not like Kansas.
Home of
defense.
champions.
Brett does not like their offensive line either. And based on what we saw about from Baylor's offensive line the last couple of years, you could argue who's to blame, but yeah, okay. And then Arkansas hired that guy. What was his name again? The big dude. He's a bigger guy.
Eric Mateos.
Eric Mateos. That's who it was.
Who was not with the Kansas offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, last year with Baylor, right? He was gone. Mateos was gone before then. And he's not going to be with him this year. And that's a guy who was with him at BYU and the first couple years at Baylor.
Mateos was there last year.
Was he? I was thinking he was gone before the year. Okay.
I don't know, because you and I are on ESPN Central Texas. He blocked me on Twitter, by the way.
That's now he's not with them.
We have a tie at number 6, TCU and Iowa State. I just don't know how TCU can be here.
I don't either, man. Look,
they don't really have a good TCU quarterback.
Hater, but that's the thing. There's just I don't know what they have, man.
Yeah.
And what weapons are there? Like
defensively, usually there's one guy for TCU that you can name that you're like, yeah, that guy's going to be a tough weapon. And the 14th rated running back room, 11th rated quarterback room, 8th wide receiver tight end, 10th offensive line.
How does that get you to 6th? I know they're going to be high on the defense, but how does all that get you to 6th?
Yeah, really good defense. Brett's loving the TCU defense, but doesn't put a single TCU Horned Frog in his first or second team all defense. Caden Jenkins is there, though. I know you like that. There is, I think Iowa State's good. I like Rocco Beck. I think he's much better than, who's the TCU kid? He had a sister that worked in Waco.
Yes, Hoover.
Yep. Hoover. Because when they played BYU, it was like, oh, geez, Jake Retzloff and the Hoover kid. Oh, gosh, boy. Oof, turn your eyes away. Iowa State.
That was the first thing I thought of. I like Rocco Becht a lot.
Yep. Abu Sama.
It's for the short white guys. I'm in for it. Yeah.
Good. Iowa State has a number 5 offensive line in the Big 12. Not shocking at all. Tie at 4 between Arizona. Okay. Noah Fafita, T-Mac.
Yeah.
And UCF. The Knights. Brett Ciencia gives them some love.
I think Fafita is really I don't want to say like the last hope for Arizona in the post Jed Fish era, but I am surprised at how many of their players stayed which might say something about the ball coach going up the Pacific Northwest. But as I've said it over and over about Arizona, it really is, to me, it needs to be proven in terms of they've had one good year the last decade or so, and the coach is gone from it the next year. And so I still think they've got a decent enough team out there, but it's a first-year head coach for them and a first year in the new conference. There's a lot of molehills to trip over there. UCF, I'm going to hear this one out first. Please go.
RJ Harvey, good. Kobe Hudson, good. KJ Jefferson, highest rated Big 12 transfer quarterback, good. Could have been all SEC if he didn't have a terrible offensive coordinator at Arkansas. I don't hate UCF defensively.
I wonder where that guy is now.
You're gonna have to, like, their linebacker core is 5th. Defensively, they're not as good, but offensively, they're even. Like, RJ Harvey's really good. It might be the second best running back in the Big 12.
Yeah,
behind the guy who we haven't mentioned yet. UCF's good.
It just feels like there's a lot of youth on that defense.
Yeah,
to put them in 4th. Like, we're not talking about like they're giving no respect at all. We're talking about putting them in the top 4.
Yeah. TCU, we put them 5 spots above West Virginia and 6 spots above Texas Tech.
I think TCU's the worst one right now.
Yeah, TCU's a tough one at 6. Kansas at 8. I struggle with it.
Oh, that's also pretty bad. Yeah,
Top 3 needs almost zero breakdown. Number 3, Oklahoma State. Number 2, Kansas State. Number 1, Utah. Chalk. Saw that coming.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Yep. Oklahoma State.
Can you imagine what Oklahoma State would be if they had a quarterback?
Yep, I know. Alan Bowen's
golly, man.
And he's just not, he doesn't push the needle. And Kansas State has who they believe to be the second coming. And I think we should still probably put a little bit of a question mark there. We're really real high on Avery Johnson.
If we're going to be fair, I think you need a question mark on Avery Johnson. Yeah.
Yep. For a little bit.
I'm buying into the hype, Kansas State fans. I am buying into the hype a little bit. But
and then the entire starting offense and defense from the 2022 Pac-12 championship Utah Utes is back because they all died last season and have been revived. Coming up, Deion Sanders is nuts on Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by my favorite thing maybe in the entire world, and it is sports wagering. FanDuel.com. Oh my gosh. There's an app for it too, by the way. I was in Ohio this weekend. Guess what? They have FanDuel. I love sports. I love them a lot. Right now it's getting kind of tough. Like, what are you gonna bet on? The Olympics just happened, but they're done. What is now? It's baseball. And I can go in and say the Texas Rangers are going to make the playoffs. I can put a bet on that. It's a plus money. And I can also bet on Cole Reagans, and I can't bet on Mike Trout anymore. Shohei Ohtani to hit a home run or stuff like that. FanDuel.com. It's got all of it. All customers get a booster bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Head to FanDuel.com. Start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. That's Cameron Stewart of Locked On Baylor. Deion Sanders in the news again, in the headlines again. He says stuff sometimes. And this comes off the heels of Colorado posting that Twitter video that was darts only. And then it just cuts like, whoa, what has happened? And I do believe if you really break it down, it's the same play, but the visual is tough. Like,
unfortunately, I think it is the same play.
You, the media guy, have to go, hey, they're going to drag us for this. And immediately Akron posts their version and it goes, so, even Deion responded with, LOL, that's funny. He then, in a press conference, didn't think this was funny. A local reporter from CBS, like, hey, what do you think about that? He's like, I'm not answering your question. What? Yeah, you work for CBS. No, he's like, all love, respect to you. I'm not answering you. And come to find out, again, this guy has nothing to do with honestly, CBS in general
at all.
It's just the parent of the place that he works. Like, he doesn't really work for his checks are not signed by CBS. They're the Sinclair or something. Mm-hmm. And Deion's like, this is above you. This is above you. I'm not answering. I'm not talking to you. You're a great guy. I'm not talking to you because CBS rated him the 15th best head coach. It's not even like they put a hit piece out. They just put out their coaching power rankings.
In fact, someone else did put what you could consider a hit piece out on Colorado that week, but that's what Deion was focused on. There's two things to me that really stick out here. And that's the first thing is the actual article. He's ranked 15th out of 16 Big 12 coaches. That's not that unfair.
Yeah.
He's had 1 year in the Power 5 and they went 4-8. It's very similar to the guy behind him and Kenny Dillingham. Not a lot of experience and a team that's coming into a new conference. Dave Aranda dropped like a stone in this one, by the way. I think he was 5th last year. He's like 12th this year.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Which, good for him, by the way, at 12.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm just like, who were you arguing him to be over?
Yeah.
Willie Fritz, because he's in the first year in the Power 5. Maybe you can make that argument.
I don't think you can.
He had a lot of success. Right. He had a lot of success in the group of 5. So even that doesn't carry much weight. So I don't know what it is about that is going to piss you off that much. Like, who cares ultimately? And of course, I go back to this point. There was this Athlon Sports story about the CU football team and the toxic culture this week. And we didn't hear a lot of pushback on that from Deion. We heard some, not a lot. And then this goes viral because this is more important. This isn't about his players or his team. This is about Deion. And you can't come at Deion. And to go back to that point about the reporter working for the local CBS station, I think we need to clarify this even more. That has nothing to do with CBS. As someone who's worked in local news, who had to go around and even sometimes tough in Central Texas to say, hey, I'm with Fox 44. Oh, you work for Fox News? I don't want to talk to you. You're going to spend. These people are idiots. And everyone knows that your local news station is not my boss was not Tucker Carlson. You know what I mean? And I just don't get how Deion does not understand that this guy has, so far away from CBS, and they're not even really owned by the same people. Like you said, they're not. The CBS local station is owned by someone else. It just happens to be on your local CBS station. There's no other affiliation.
The guy who wrote
which is different from CBS Sports, which is where they're writing the piece. That has nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, they're not coworkers. The guy that wrote the piece and the guy who's sitting at the press conference doesn't even work. He's not even a coworker. They don't know each other. They don't. And it was so. It's not even like a local versus national thing. It's just they're not even owned, but they're not coworkers. And then Deion says, I got respect for you. I got love for you, but I'm not going to treat you like a human being. Is what I'm not going to answer you. I'm not going to let you do your job. Right. Even though you're probably going to ask a perfectly reasonable question to me, although those lines have been blurred as to what is a reasonable question to ask Deion. Oh, sorry, Coach Sanders, because we need to call him that as if he's a doctor or something. And this is like Belichickian levels of treating the media like absolute garbage. And let's say, when it comes down to is him thinking, I am a better person than you. You don't hate Bill Belichick. Your time is not worth it for me. I don't hate Bill Belichick because I'm a big Patriots fan. I don't like how he treated the media, but I don't hate Bill Belichick. I don't hate Deion Sanders. This isn't a Deion Sanders, I'm never going to go to his press conference now because I can't ask a question after this. If you're watching Deion, hey. I don't hate Deion. I don't think Deion is an evil person, but there's nothing that I've seen that's like he's a good person. Like a great, shucks, that's who I want to lead me kind of person. I did love the videos that came out last year of the kids that got cut. And granted, they probably all really, really sucked hard at football. But they were funny stories. By the way, I don't mind that Deion did that or with the coaching staff. That is part of college football. Like some line out of his office, you walk in and have you been rehabilitated? And then they give you the old boot. Then a reporter says you bolstered the offensive line, and Boyd shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have complimented his offensive line. Word, man. God forbid. And Deion's like, bolstered. What's bolstered mean? Like, what? You feel like you're a 60-year-old man. You probably should know that. Yeah, you probably know bolstered. And then the guy was like, that Baylor's trying to add, or that the Big 12's trying to add. Spectacular journalism on this guy's part, by the way. He then says something, he simplifies it to beefed up. We all know what beefed up means. And still, that sounds like a cuss word to Deion. Right.
Still, that's not good enough.
Say improved. Why do you have to pick? It's a synonym.
They're synonyms. They're all synonyms.
It's a synonym. Why do you have to pick the word that I use in the, like, we're not trying to offend you by saying your offensive line is better, that you built an offensive line that's better. And it's still maybe not as good. I think my favorite moment from the press conference was when a reporter asked him about chemistry, and he asked, "What is chemistry? Y'all don't even know about chemistry." Like, what? I'm done. Again,
just like what does that mean? I know what all those words mean, Deion, but what do you mean we don't know what chemistry is? We're not in the locker room with your team, yes, but we're asking a general question about the chemistry of your team. You don't know what that is. Well, it's once again, it's translated
that's why I'm
better than you, and you don't deserve an answer because I'm better than you.
I don't know what the team's chemistry is, so I'm asking you. That's what the question is.
Did you know I'm in the Hall of Fame?
I do like his beard.
Prime time.
The beard's good. He's probably not going to be at Colorado next. And I'm not. I know Colorado the fans get mad when you say that, but he's probably not going to be at Colorado next year.
The Colorado fans get mad when you say anything. Yeah. The Big 12 fans were like the Hateful Eight fans were like, oh, dreading getting Utah into this conference with their fan base, and what they think Utah's fan base is, Colorado's fan base is.
Yep. And if I can be very, very honest with you, this is the case based on the last 10 years of college football. Colorado football didn't exist last year and doesn't exist this year. Deion Sanders does. The cameras are there. The media attention's there. The stories the headlines are there. Not because Colorado football is playing, because Deion Sanders is playing. Maybe he knows that. Maybe that's why he can be a butt.
And there's no guarantee that this is a bowl season for Colorado.
No, they start hot. They could be 4-1 to start, or they could also lose North Dakota State.
I was gonna say that would be a very impressive 4-1 with North Dakota State and at Nebraska in there, and then Baylor. But
yeah, their schedule gets tough at the end. It's Cameron Stewart at Real Cam Stewart, also on the Cam Show, where you can use swear words. No FCC there.
Yes, and that's where I will have more of my Deion Sanders thoughts, because the linguistic limitations of the glorious people at Locked On Network censors me a little bit.
Deion Sanders also censors people. He has linguistic limitations on reporters. Yes. Don't say chemistry. Don't. I've never heard a local news TV guy ever ask a hard question once. Ever. They can't.
No. I love that both of his answers there were the second and third question there were, I don't know what that means, and then you don't know what that means.
Yeah, bingo. Dropped it. What is bolstered? Beefed up. No, wrong.
How dare you? How dare you? First,
how about improved? All right, great. This has been It Always Will Be. Come back tomorrow. There's going to be more sports. Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.